Each ward in our state has a preparedness committee. The first ward is Sue. I'm going to introduce him to them. Sue and Glenn Bayless, Craig Hale, Mike Stover. The fifth ward is Amanda Bjarnson, Heather Martin, Samantha Einfeld, and Karen Carter. Ninth ward is Sam George, Nancy Nelson, Brent Manwaring, Rich Beveridge, and Jan Gibson. The 14th ward is Dolly McCormick, Rich Cutler, and Virgil Gralone. The 16th ward is Anna Durfee and Bonnie Johnson. And the 20th ward is Brad and Marcy Olson. Each month, we will be highlighting different ways to prepare. Our classes are going to be recorded to be viewed at a future date. And please feel free to share these Zoom addresses with family and friends. We would love to hear your feedback. If you have a skill and would be willing to teach a class, please contact your ward representative. During the evening, please keep your microphones on mute so that we can prevent the background noise that would disrupt the class. If desired during the presentation to ask a question, you are welcome to use the chat box or wait until the class is over. Take your cursor and hover at the bottom of the screen and you will see the box displayed. Disasters happen anytime, anywhere. And when disaster strikes, you may not have much time to respond. A highway spill or a hazardous material incident could mean evacuation. A winter storm could confine your family at home. An earthquake, flood, tornado, or any other disaster could cut water, electricity, and telephones for days. After a disaster, local officials and relief workers will be on the scene, but they cannot reach everyone immediately. You could get help in hours, or may take days or even months. Would your family be prepared to cope with an emergency until it helps lives? Your family will cope best by preparing for disaster before it strikes. One way to prepare is by assembling a disaster supply kit. Once the disaster hits, you won't have time to shop or search for supplies. But if you've gathered the supplies in advance, your family can endure an evacuation or home confinement. I would encourage each of you to reread the talk given by President Benson in the October 1980 conference called Prepare for the Days of Tribulation. Tonight, we're going to be discussing what to put in a bug out bag or an everyday carry. Our teachers are Amanda Bjarnson from the 5th Ward and Virgil Gralone from the 14th Ward. After they teach their classes, we will be opening it up for a question and answer period. Amanda?
Okay, give me a wave if you can all hear me. Awesome. Okay, so just a few reminders as we get started. Please remember to keep your microphones muted. The second thing I wanted to say is that I prefer to have the speaker be the big window, most of what I'm seeing. So if you don't know how to do that, take your mouse and hover in the upper right-hand corner where it says view and click on speaker view. Then I will be big and you should be able to see me.
Also, if you're on mobile, if you keep on scrolling so that you're going towards the left, you'll be able to see that way as well.
Thanks, Marcy. Appreciate that. And then the third thing is, as a reminder, or not a reminder, but as we're going through, if you have questions or you even have suggestions or comments you want to make on anything that I share, please feel free to do that in the chat box. We do have somebody monitoring the chat box so that they can either answer questions or whatever. You can answer questions of other people as well. All right, so let's get started. I'm gonna, my perspective and the bag that I'm sharing is from the perspective of a mom. And the bag that we're gonna fill is a child's bag. And I have kids ranging in age from 3 to 12. And since it's not commonly thought of or talked about, I'm going to talk about the 3-year-old's bag. And so the first thing I wanted to mention is the size of the bag. It looks like a normal size backpack, but it's a little bit smaller than a regular size backpack, because you want to make sure that the size of the bag matches the person who's going to be carrying it. You don't want to overfill it or make it too heavy so that they can't carry it. This bag with everything in it weighs around 7 or 8 pounds. And when putting it on my 3-year-old, it's a little bit heavy, but he can walk okay with it. So if he had to walk, from the house to the car, he would do fine. From the car to somebody's house, he probably couldn't carry it for a long distance, but if that were necessary, it's again light enough that an adult or an older sibling could carry it in addition to their own bag. So that takes care of the size of the bag. Outside of the bag are a couple things I could not fit, but that's okay because you would need them anyway. The first thing is a jacket. This is just a light jacket, but if you needed this, you would probably grab it on your way out the door anyway. So that didn't fit in the bag, but that's okay. The second thing was shoes. These shoes didn't fit in his bag. Sorry, I can bring them closer. They're just a pair of Velcro shoes. They're a little bit too small, but again, that's going to be fine in case of, a day or 2 days or 3 days even. These have Velcro, they don't have laces, but if they had laces, I would tie them to the strap of the backpack so that as he's wearing it, it's just kind of down by his side. It wouldn't be in his way at all. That takes care of shoes and a jacket. Okay, now let's go to the front pocket. The first thing and probably the most important thing to a young child is going to be comfort. So I have a little comfort item. If this is something that your child sleeps with every night, you're probably not going to forget it. It might be one of the first things you think, oh, we better go grab that. But if they don't, then you can pick something small enough that will fit in their bag. So a little comfort item. Everything in the bag is stored in Ziploc bags, and that serves two purposes. At least two purposes. One, it helps keep it dry. And the other thing is it keeps everything kind of separated by categories. So this one is just a simple, I don't know, it's kind of like a miscellaneous items bag. So I'll show that up close. And then I'll show you what's in it. So it has, excuse me, an emergency blanket. These are super easy to find. You can find them at the grocery store or you can order them from Amazon. Also, everything in my bag I wanted to try to find around my house. So a cowbell. We just had New Year's, so a lot of people bought these cheap noisemakers from Zerkers. Now, why would we have something that makes noise? Because little kids tend to wander, and if they get lost or parents and children get separated, these noisemakers might come in handy and you can say, wait a minute, I can hear my kid. So something that might make noise. A lot of people might have a whistle, but we didn't have a whistle. Some chapstick is good. Even if for a child or 3-year-old, it's just something to do. A flashlight. This is nice and small. It's very light. It takes 3 AAA batteries. So those replacement batteries are really easy to pack along and really easy to buy. They don't cost a lot of money. That's everything in this front little pocket. Where's the zipper? There we go. All right. Opening the bag, I have a toiletries bag. I have an entertainment bag. Again, I'll go through all of these bags and show you what's inside. A clothing bag. Don't tell my 3-year-old that's his underwear. He'd be so embarrassed. And then a food bag, which is probably second most important to your toddler because they're always hungry and they want to know what's to eat. And then I'll cover this paper at the end. Inside the clothing bag, the first thing I want to say is long and large. So if you have hand-me-downs or if you're going to buy something for your bag, size it up and put it in a Ziploc bag. There are 3 pairs of underwear in here because we all know toddlers who don't know where the bathroom is are going to have an accident. It's just going to happen. Socks that are long and socks that are short, preparing for any kind of weather. Now, a long sleeve shirt and long sweatpants. And the reason I said long and large is because if you're in warm weather, great, you're set. You have weather appropriate attire. But if it's warm weather and you really have to leave or you're stranded somewhere, you can cut the sleeves off, cut the legs off. You have short sleeves and shorts. The last two items in the clothing bag are a beanie and mismatched gloves, because who doesn't have those and nobody wants to wear them. So put them together in your bag and voila, you have a pair of gloves you did not have to buy. Now this bag is really good because you can put soiled clothes in it. So like I said, any toddler who doesn't know where a bathroom is going to have an accident. So this works really well in the event that you have an accident and you need somewhere to put those clothes. You can also use it as a washing machine. You put water in it, a little bit of soap, agitate, and you've washed those soiled clothes. The next bag is the entertainment bag. I don't really think I need to take everything out of here. There's a little book to read. I had my son pick the book, some colored pencils, a pencil, a pen, a pencil sharpener, and some blank paper, because that's open to any kid's imagination. They can do whatever they want. Paper airplanes, draw pictures, color, throw spit wads at your sister, I don't know. And then the last thing in here that I actually think is super important is Play-Doh, because when kids are nervous, they have nervous energy. It's really important for them to have a way to deal with that and to put that into a physical activity. Play-Doh is really good because they can manipulate it with their hands and it gives them something to do. It's also a very soothing, cathartic activity for young kids to do. And it's not too messy if there's nothing else that they can put it on. If they're just playing with it in their hands, it's not going to get everywhere. The toiletries bag. Now, one thing I wanted to say before we move forward is if this is just your day, like a day go bag, you're going on a road trip, you're not going to be on the road for a really long time, you might not need the toiletries bag, but for a young kid, again, it might be really nice to have. You never know what's going to happen. In the toiletries bag, there is a toothbrush, because if you're like me, you have toothbrushes laying around. This is really nice. This is a sunscreen stick. Instead of having a gooey bottle, it's just a stick and you can rub it on like a glue stick and rub it in. So that's nice and small. Our dentist gives us toothbrush and toothpaste at every appointment. So we have tons of these and these are really good to put in there. This is just Johnson & Johnson shampoo and lotion. Well, this is shampoo body wash and this is lotion. They pair very nicely. They work for everybody, mostly everybody, but they are really good for sensitive skin. So if you have sensitive skin or not sensitive skin, these will work. And then upon further suggestion from our good friend Virgil, I had a small roll of toilet paper and put that in a plastic bag all by itself. The reason it's a small roll and not a full roll is because what one person is going to use a full roll of toilet paper. I took this straight from my bathroom. We had worn it down to a smaller roll and I thought that would be perfect in a bag. Great for roadside potties. This is a small first aid kit. This could go in anybody's go bag. It has some Band-Aids and alcohol prep pads. It has bacitracin. But the other thing I wanted to mention, and you probably wouldn't put this in your toddler's bag, but this is some consecrated oil. I find I don't ever want to travel without it. So I even have some on my keychain. I carry it. Dental floss, good for more than just teeth. Some baby wipes. You can buy these again. I bought these. These were like $1 at the grocery store. And then a hand towel. And it's not brand new. It was something I grabbed from my kitchen. And then another bag that you have for anything, you know, in case it leaks or, you know, it's contained in the bag. Now the last food, and again, the last bag, and probably the second most important to your child is going to be the food. What do we have to eat? What snacks do we have? And this really will vary based on your kids. And I spent probably $25 when I went to the store to stock up on some things that I could put in these bags. And that would be spread across 5 kids, $25, that's $5 per kit. And I felt like that's really affordable. So I'll show you what's in it. And this is the part that could be really easily converted into a 72-hour kit. It just depends on how much food or whatever you want to pack for your child. But again, if you want them to be able to carry it, someone else is probably going to have to carry the rest of the food for a toddler or a small child. So we have ramen, not super healthy, but kids love it. Easy Mac. All it needs is water and a microwave, which you can find at a gas station. An applesauce pouch. You're getting some fruit, some oatmeal, a protein bar, granola bar, Slim Jims, which are tasty. All kids love fruit snacks. I mean, that's generic, but I would assume so. And then I put 3 little water bottles in here. This is about enough water for a small child for 24 hours. So again, if you wanted to do 72-hour kit, you would need to add more water, but that weighs down the bag, makes it more difficult for a small child to carry. Let's see. Oh, the other reason that I like to put them in this bag is that it makes it easy to rotate. So in 6 months, when it's time to rotate your food, you pull out your food bag, hand it to the kid and say, have at it. And then you put a new bag in their backpack. So it makes it really easy for rotation. The same is true for the clothes. Now the last thing, and I'm actually going to come up closer so I can show this better, is an emergency contact card. This was one thing that I noticed that was on one, oh, I washed out my face. I only found this in one of the things I checked on Pinterest, but I thought it was a really great idea. I put it in a sheet protector to keep it dry. If you do that, make sure that the closed end is on the bottom of your bag. So if anything leaks, this paper stays dry. This is probably the key to reuniting families if they get separated for any reason. I'm actually thinking of putting one in my kids' backpacks, just a smaller version. On one side is a family picture. It has everybody's name and their age. You could also put their birth date. That way their age can be calculated. This way we can put names and ages with faces. In the event of a reunification necessity, this is really valuable. On the other side is a picture of the child the bag belongs to and their name, their date of birth, and if they have any allergies. The allergies is actually quite important because if you have a child that gets separated or if they're injured, that would be really important for any emergency medical providers to know if your child has any allergies. Then what's in the spreadsheet is the emergency contact people. So we have the relation to the child, names, phone number, address, and the age of that person. So I did immediate family, grandparents, and then a few aunts and uncles. Put those together, sheet protector, and stick it in the bag. And that is a go bag for a toddler.
Thank you, Amanda. Appreciate that. Just a reminder, President Baker sent out an email which should have a list of all those items that she talked about, as well as Virgil, and I'm going to turn the time over to Virgil.
Okay. Okay. All right. Everyone can hear me okay? Okay. So basically what I'd like to talk about tonight is a go bag, an EDC bag, everyday carry bag. It goes by a lot of names. I have been carrying an EDC or everyday carry bag for many years now, and it's been evolving as time goes by. As the letter from the stake, there's no one right everyday carry bag. There's lots of wrong ones. It has to be with you in mind. You're going to be carrying it. It has to be tailored to what you're going to encounter in your everyday situation. The comment I made was, if you work in a downtown high-rise building, your everyday carry bag is going to be different than, say, you're a ranger up in the Uintas. So it has to be commensurate with what your environment is, what you encounter on a daily basis, and what would best suit your needs and the event of an emergency, but also just every day. This is my everyday carry bag. It's a black bag. It has a shoulder strap, and it's a sling, so I can carry it like so, and it goes over me, and it keeps my hands free. I can use a flashlight at night. I can use my other hand to protect myself if I'm on uneven ground. I'm not occupying one of my hands to carry it. The other thing that I decided personally, I carry it in my truck, and I have black interior, so I elected to go with black. There's a lot of experts that say, don't use black, don't use anything tactical. Orvis makes a really nice, benign fly fisherman bag. It's kind of a light green. So it just depends what your personal preference is, but tactically, it's better to keep a low profile and avoid attraction or any interest as possible. But again, I decided to go with black because I have a black interior in my truck, and a lot of times if I just run into the store, I put it in the back seat. I never keep it in the front seat. I put it in the back seat on the floor. And with the tinted windows, you got to really look hard to see this, even during the day or night. So in my bag, if you can see closely here, I actually carry a tourniquet on the outside. This is a CAT tourniquet, a combat application tourniquet. This has been designed over the last 21 years of U.S. military adventures abroad, and it's an excellent emergency tourniquet. Opening the main compartment, I carry a second tourniquet. They say if two is one, then one is none. If you're in a situation every day, I mean, if you do a lot of driving, my commute's a half hour each way. I'm on the freeway for an hour every day. If you need to apply a tourniquet to yourself or others, this is what you'd want to have. And having two tourniquets is better than one. The other thing to consider is, like in military, each soldier will carry 4 tourniquets, one for each of his limbs, and a 5th tourniquet for someone else. And it's just something to think about. Stopping the bleed in event of emergency is critical. If someone has a femoral artery, they're bleeding out fast, you literally have seconds to save their life. The other thing I carry is I carry a knife. That's just me. I've always liked knives. 2 things I really like are flashlights and knives. So this is a really nice high performance knife, and it does a great job. I have a small mini first aid kit. You can see there I carry, this is the stuff that I carry that I feel it's important to me. I have tooth floss picks, alcohol swabs. There's you can see there I have a little spool of dental floss, and then I have a bottle of iodine. I can use the iodine to sterilize cuts, but I can also use that same iodine for water purification. The next thing I have in here is a bleeding hemorrhage response kit. And what this has is rolled gauze, a quick clot hemostatic dressing, emergency trauma dressing, surgical tape, and nitrile gloves. This is what you would use in the event of an emergency, hopefully not on yourself, but to be able to help save someone else's life. I also carry, this is called Titan Paracord. This was also designed by the military. It actually has 2 patents on it. And it's regular, it's a high performance paracord. This is actually the best paracord that's made. It's covered by 2 patents. It has 6 strands of mil-spec 550 paracord. It has a 30 gauge snare wire, which you can use for multiple applications, a 25-pound fishing line, and actually a waterproof tinder. So with a couple of inches of the inside tinder line, you could start a fire in the event of an emergency. I also have a standard first aid kit. This one actually is an Equate kit. I picked it up from Walmart. It wasn't very much money, but it basically has a standard basic individual first aid kit in there. I also carry a signal mirror. So it has a few purposes. I keep it wrapped in duct tape on the foam pad it came with, but this is actually signal mirror. There's instructions on the back. You can see that. Teaches you how to use the mirror, and you can not only can use this for emergency signaling, but you can actually remove a foreign particle in your eye or treating some part of your body that you don't have direct vision on. I carry a high performance protein bar just in case I need that extra protein if I need to get home and it's not by means of vehicle and I have to walk. Inside the main front compartment here, I have a lightning cable to charge my iPhone. I also carry some backup contacts. I have contacts, so I carry that. I'm a big fan of licorice, so I have a little bit of licorice in there. This is what I do. I also have, my hands can get really dry, so I keep some hand cream, hand lotion. Inside here, I also carry an N95 mask. Nowadays we're all wearing masks for COVID, but this N95 mask is particularly suited for a hostile environment where, say, you're in a building and there's just a lot of structural damage and there's insulation. And if it's an older building, you could even have asbestos, right? So I keep an N95 mask, a brand new one, with me. I also carry a multi-tool. This is a SOG multi-tool. I've had this for a long time, but Leatherman does great. There's lots of great multi-tools out there, but this comes in handy. It has all kinds of applications. This is a Petzl headlamp. It has a few modes on it. It has low, high, flashing, and then it also has a red LED. So if you need to not damage your night vision, but access something, then you want something that has multifunction. A night vision would be a red light is really great to protect your night vision. I have a Cliff Bar. I like to eat, and again, like if my work is a half hour away, if I'm in a situation where I have to walk, and I need some nutrition to keep my energy up, then I want to keep that handy. I also carry sunscreen. This is an SPF, I think like 70, and it's important for me to protect my skin from sunburn. I also have a little waterproof box of windproof matches. The ability to make fire and the ability to make fire in more than one way is critical. You don't know how long it's going to take for you to get home, and you just want to be able to have that ability. I carry Blistex with sunscreen on it. I also have a pocket folding knife. I think I like knives also. Did I say that I like knives and flashlights? And then getting to the end of it, here's my flashlight. I have a small flashlight that runs on 2 AAAs. I also carry a regular lighter. This would be my go-to to make a fire. But in the event the lighter's damaged, I have alternate means to make fire. It also has some duct tape wrapped around there. Duct tape has multiple applications. And then an emergency survival blanket. If it's cold and I need some extra warmth, then this is always going to be something I'm going to want to have handy. And then for me personally, I carry super glue. Super glue has lots of applications. EMTs, paramedics, they carry super glue to quickly stop bleeding. It's actually sterile, and it's something that I keep handy with me also. And I think that is the end of my EDC. But again, you need to think about yourself and what you do and your life. I mean, I'm a sailor. I spend a lot of time sailing, particularly in the warmer months. And if anybody knows, whether you're a sailor or a hiker up in the mountains, you can go up into parts of the Uintas not far from here where you can lose cell signal. So you can go about 4 or 5 miles north of the Salt Lake Marina and not have any cell service. And so I also carry with me, if I know I'm going to be in an area where there's compromised signal, I have a SpotX communicator. For those of you who don't know what this is, it's basically a GPS tracker and a texting communicator via satellite. So if all the cell phones or the cell towers go down, I can communicate with another SpotX user, or I can send a text, for example, to my daughter Morgan in Nashville if the communications along the Wasatch Front are down. This is something to think about if you find yourself repeatedly in areas where you have compromised cell service. I don't carry this with me every day, just for lack of space in my bag. But if I know I'm going somewhere, if I'm going to take a hike up at Lake Mary in Big Cottonwood Canyon, I'll take this and I'll take my EDC bag with me, because this has pretty much the only thing I would also carry obviously with me if I'm going on a hike is would be water. And depending on the weather, if I'm going to be carrying, a light jacket or something, if it's going to be raining, I'd want to carry a poncho or rain jacket. But always be prepared hiking around the mountains to be prepared to spend an emergency night up there. And you know how cold it can get even in the summer up in the Uintas or the Wasatch. So that's basically what I carry in my EDC, and I'm always evolving it. I don't let it get stale. I keep on thinking about what I can do to improve it. Am I carrying something that I absolutely don't need? Is there something else that I can replace that with that's multi-purpose and multifunction? And then I would upgrade accordingly. Does anybody have any questions?
Or if you'd like to add to, go ahead.
Okay. This is Curtis Christensen. Suppose you're like I am, you're diabetic. You're going to have to carry that stuff with you. And then there are medications that go along with an older gentleman too. Do you think that you should make space in that bag for those medications? And then the other thing, what about just a plain AM, FM radio? Those questions come to my mind.
Yeah, that's great thought there. Again, for me, this everyday carry is something I carry from home to South Jordan where I work. So yeah, if you want to, again, this is something that is personal to you. Absolutely. If you're a diabetic, if you're taking critical medications, you always want to carry those with you on your person. The more critical the medication, the more accessibility you need to think about that. I was a supervisor for JetBlue Airways for 8 years, and I can't tell you how many calls I took from people desperate because their baggage got misrouted or lost, and they had their heart medicine there, or they're diabetics, or they had critical medications they needed to get a hold of. By all means, if you have a serious medical condition and you're dependent upon any type of medication, not only do you need to consider keeping that in your purse or in your everyday carry, but if it's really critical that you need to have that, and then I would advise keeping it on your person, keeping it in your pocket or in your coat, because you need to be prepared in any situation.
Thank you.
Bet.
To follow up on that, if you have allergies, life-threatening allergies, and you have an EpiPen, that would be another thing that you would want to put in your everyday carry bag or your go bag for your child, or keep in your car, because that can be useful for you, but it could also be used for someone around you who doesn't have an EpiPen that happens to have an allergic reaction.
Great point, Amanda. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. You have to consider that as we've all seen the events play out in 2020, it's very quick. It can happen very quickly where police and first responders, paramedics can be completely overwhelmed in a situation. And you need to have the mindset of being your own first responder. Hopefully, if you're in a situation, a crisis situation, you'd like to think that there's going to be people nearby, or police or paramedics that's going to come and help you. But what happens if that response is going to be delayed by a half hour, 45 minutes, 2 or 3 hours? We need to be prepared to be our own first responders and be able to help stabilize our own situation as quickly and effectively as possible. Allergies, heart conditions, diabetic conditions, whatever that is, you need to consider, and not for yourself, but for your children, for a neighbor, for a loved one that lives close by. We need to be thinking about not only just ourselves, about others and how we can best help others in the event of an emergency. The better we are prepared if and when anything happens, the less we're going to have fear, the greater aid we're going to be to our fellow brothers and sisters, and basically be the people that the Lord wants us to be in the event of that emergency.
So Virgil, there was a question in the comments in the chat box of where can you find some of the things that you have in your bag, like your tourniquets and some of those other more specialty items?
Okay, great question. Thank you, Amanda. There's lots of websites. You can look up survival websites if you just type survival. There's also eBay, there's Amazon. I've got a lot of my stuff off the web. And like, for example, I believe the Titan survival cord, you can pick this up at Cabela's, at Shields, at Sportsman's Warehouse. Same thing with response kits. Actually, most of all that stuff you can pick up there. Again, you can pick it up on the web and local stores. And that's the other thing. Obviously, we all have our budgets to keep in mind, and you don't need to buy the best and the greatest. There's some great stuff out there that's reasonably priced. You don't want to spend the least amount of money because you kind of get what you pay for. But for example, this knife is a Mora knife. It's made in Europe, and they have several versions of this. This one's a mid-grade version, but there's also a version that's quite nice. That's about $15. So, you don't have to spend a lot of money to get some half decent equipment, but you can search on the web, and you can definitely get it at local providers.
The other thing the follow-up comment I wanted to make, Virgil, to that is that also in the event of somebody who's bleeding, tampons, pads, and diapers are all made to be super absorbent. And so those could also be used if you don't have something that was specially designed for that. Virgil, there was another question. Does the SpotX communicator require a service plan or connection, or does it stand alone by itself?
Great question. It does require subscription, and there's various grades of subscription. I think the base of subscription is like, I want to say it's like $2 or $3.99 a month. Because I'm a sailor and I spend a lot of time out on the Great Salt Lake, I paid a little extra for it's an emergency rescue insurance. It's like $180,000 or $175,000 worth of rescue time. So again, if I'm, for me, it's worth it. At least my mom said I was worth it. But yeah, it's something. There's different tiers of subscription that you can get for that, and for the few dollars a month, you're talking half the cost of a Happy Meal. So I thought it was worth that.
Are there any other questions you would like to ask? I'm just gonna, so I don't forget, our next month preparedness meeting will be on water and sanitation, and very critical. So are there any other questions? I appreciate those that will be that have been manning the chat box below or sending chats. it's really fun to see what technology we can do with technology and helping one another. Well, thank you, Mitzi. If there's no one else that has any other questions or comments, remember, same channel, same place next month. And we will be continuing to send out a newsletter so you know what we're talking about and the Zoom address. I'm just going to throw it out there. Mike Stover, would you mind giving the closing prayer?